The rain had been falling since morning, soaking the streets in a grey melancholy. Daniel pulled his jacket tighter as he hurried out of the small grocery store, a bag of bread, milk, and instant noodles in his hand. Money was tight these days. Ever since his wife passed away 3 years ago, it had been just him and his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. He worked 2 jobs, day shifts at the hardware store and nights as a delivery driver, barely scraping enough to keep the lights on. Every cent mattered. Every meal was planned down to the last slice of bread. As he stepped onto the wet sidewalk, he noticed them. 2 small figures huddled under the awning of an old pharmacy. A boy and a girl, no older than 10, drenched, shivering, and barefoot despite the cold. Their clothes hung loose, torn in places, and their thin hands clutched each other for warmth. The boy's lips were pale, the girl's eyes wide and hollow. At first, Daniel assumed they might be waiting for someone. But then the boy looked up at a passing stranger and said, "Sir, do you have anything to eat?" The words were so small, so fragile, they almost got lost in the sound of the rain. Daniel's steps slowed. He glanced inside his grocery bag. He didn't have much to spare, but something inside him, something he recognized from the nights he'd seen Lily asleep after skipping his own dinner, pulled him toward them. Kneeling down so his eyes met theirs, Daniel asked softly, "Hey, where are your parents?" The boy hesitated. "Our moms, close by." "Do you have a home?" Daniel pressed gently. The girl shook her head, her hair dripping water. We haven't eaten since yesterday." Daniel felt a lump in his throat. Without thinking twice, he pulled out the bread from his bag and handed it to them. They tore into it hungrily, not even bothering to thank him, they were too focused on the food. That alone told him more than words ever could. "Where's your mom now?" he asked again. The boy pointed toward a narrow alley beside the pharmacy. Daniel followed their gaze, and what he saw made his chest tighten. A young woman, maybe in her late 20s, sat on an overturned crate. She was drenched, her hair plastered to her face, clutching a thin blanket around herself. Her lips trembled, but her eyes were fixed on her children with a look that was equal parts love and desperation. When she saw Daniel approaching, she stood, almost defensively. "They didn't bother you, did they?" she asked, her voice shaky. Daniel shook his head. "No, they're hungry. I just gave them some bread. Are you all right?" She laughed bitterly, one of those laughs that hides tears. "All right?" "Not even close." She looked down at her soaked shoes. "We've been sleeping in the bus station for the past week. I lost my job at the diner when I got sick, and then I couldn't pay rent. The landlord threw us out. My kids, they haven't eaten properly in days. I try to make it seem like it's an adventure, but they're not stupid. They know." Daniel swallowed hard. Her words hit him like a punch. He had been close to losing his apartment once, back when the bills piled up after his wife's medical treatments. He knew the fear, the shame. He had Lily's small, trusting eyes to push him forward, and here was another parent, clearly doing everything she could, but drowning faster than she could swim. "I'm sorry," Daniel said quietly. "You shouldn't be out here with them like this." "I know," she whispered. Her voice cracked. "But I can't take them to a shelter, they're full. The last time we went, they said no space. I've been skipping meals so they can have what little food we find." Daniel's mind raced. He barely made ends meet himself. His fridge at home was half empty. But he couldn't walk away, not after seeing the way the little girl clung to her brother, not after hearing the mother's voice shake with exhaustion. "Look," he said, his voice firm now. "I can't solve everything tonight. But I can make sure you 3 get a warm meal and a dry place to sit for a while. Come with me." She hesitated. "I don't want charity." "It's not charity," Daniel replied. It's what I hope someone would do for my daughter if we were in your shoes." That made her eyes soften. Slowly, she nodded. He took them to a small diner a few blocks away. The warmth inside wrapped around them like a blanket. The kids' faces lit up when steaming plates of scrambled eggs and toast arrived. Daniel watched them eat, saw the color return to their cheeks. The mother, whose name was Marissa, sipped tea quietly, her hands trembling slightly as she held the cup. While the kids were distracted, she leaned toward Daniel and whispered, "I don't know how to thank you." "Just, keep going," Daniel said. "For them. That's all that matters." Over the next few days, Daniel checked on them whenever he could. He spoke to a local church, who managed to find a temporary shelter spot for Marissa and her children. He even reached out to a friend who knew a cafe owner looking for help. Within a week, Marissa had a job washing dishes, enough to start saving for a small place of her own. One evening, as Daniel and Lily were walking home from the park, they saw Marissa and her kids again, this time, wearing clean clothes, laughing in the golden light of sunset. The boy ran up to Daniel and hugged him without a word. Marissa's eyes met his, full of gratitude. "You saved us," she said simply. Daniel shook his head. "No, you were already saving them. I just gave you a little push." As they walked away, Daniel squeezed Lily's hand, feeling a warmth spread through him despite the cool evening air. Life was still hard. His own bills hadn't gone away. But he'd been reminded of something important, that sometimes, even when you can't fix the whole world, you can change one moment, one night, for someone. And sometimes, that's enough to turn everything around.